This is the Making Noise podcast.
It's weird, like trying to balance all these different aspects of being a musician and like, I mean, like like we've been talking about for you is getting your feet wet of being a composer and stuff, and you know, being a pianist and New Music Chicago, and you teach as well, right?
I do. Yeah. I do. I maintain a fairly small private studio. I teach at the Music Institute of Chicago and have a small handful of private students. Yeah, it's a challenge. I don't know how you think of it. I always think of my career as just like a pie. And so there's like these different areas of the pie that get a certain amount of my time and energy, and which contribute a certain amount of my income, which, is never, it's all over the place. But yeah,
Yeah.
like balancing how big of a part of the pie the teaching is versus the performing versus the, other aspects of making artistic projects happen. I'm sure you talked about that with other guests on your podcast, but it's like an always evolving balance of those pie pieces. Yeah, and not only like to get past the point of like, I find myself challenged right now at not only thinking of like, okay, how do I want to balance this, but like, how do I want this to be balanced 5 years from now? So that's a question that's always kind of scared me, but I realized, okay, I've got to this is a question you need to face. Otherwise, like, how are you going to know what direction you're going to go in more than 2 years into the future, right? So trying to think of more overarching ideas and goals for my career is something I'm currently kind of juggling and considering. Yeah.
Yeah. The foresight and planning.
Yeah.
That's tricky. Yeah. I've always been kind of, had trouble with that. What is your, like, how far ahead do you think like you usually look? Like, are you like, I look only a week ahead or a month or like 5 months, or like, where are you with that?
I think usually I have trouble thinking in terms of like concrete planning more than a year ahead. But a year feels comfortable, and too much less than that starts to feel anxious in terms of like having enough time to learn music for, different programs or different things. That's kind of the guiding force there. It's like, how much time do I have to learn this program? And so it's, probably like 1 year in advance. And like the shortest term that feels comfortable at all is like 4 months in advance for something. And of course, there's always like, those are like the big rocks that go to the bottom of the jar, right? You want those things to be in place and to be well planned. And then there's like all these other little 1 month, 2 week pebbles that can settle in around those. But like, it's always a challenge to like make sure all the big things are in place and you don't forget about them and you keep space for them. And then, but I have trouble like with the conceptual planning of further than a year away. I feel like that's something I'm currently trying to get better at.
And so have you always felt comfortable like thinking yearly, or has there been a gradual build to that?
No, definitely not always felt comfortable with that. Probably my school years, if any of my former teachers will listen, like, I was generally ready at a performance, but like to be ready for something, even one rehearsal, one lesson before a performance was unlikely. So like very much like by the skin of my teeth as deadlines came up wasn't the best at foresight and planning until say like my early 30s probably.
Yeah.
20s, early 30s.
That makes sense. I think a lot of us are that when we're in school.
Yeah.
It's like you're just thinking about what do you have to do today, or even in the next hour, like planning
what
it
I have
out.
to do to not create stress dreams that will revisit me for decades to come.
Yes. Oh my God. Going to sleep and then just having those nightmares of like, well, actually for me, it's not even going to sleep. It's not going to sleep because I'm so anxious about what I have to do tomorrow, you know?
Yeah. What's up with that? Like, I feel like the mind always has a way of like, it's so concrete. It always does it. It's always right before bed that it starts thinking the things you need to do in that moment. I feel like it's a trick to like quell that beast.
There is. I had a sleep therapist for a period because it was so severe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what was happening for me was I kept myself so busy all day,
Mm-hmm.
constantly trying to do things and taking information and whatnot. By the time I was going to bed, I treated laying down, which you're doing nothing except laying there, right, for bed. I treated that as like time to think about things because now I have the mental space to do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so bed for me was, I associated it with work and not relaxation.
Gosh, that seems like so obvious, but like you don't think of that unless somebody can point that out to you in that way.
It's so stupid.
Funny.
It's so stupid.
You know, I've I found I see like you're saying you're sleeping, that was your time where your mind is like open and able to kind of like turn these wheels. I found that for me, that comes during when I walk. Like I think I love walking and I feel like such a nerd about it because it's so boring, but like I'll just walk. Like going on a 12-mile walk would be like my idea of a fantastic morning for lunch. I don't do it all the time, but it's just because like your mind can, I don't know what it is about it, but my mind can go places that it doesn't go when I'm sitting focusing on a task. Like it's able to come up with different connections for things and different ideas. Like I don't know. It's like literally the things start churning when I walk.
I'm the same exact way. I love going for walks. Through, like just kind of cruising around the neighborhood, walking up to Humboldt Park, walking through over by the water.
It's a beautiful process. Like it's such a fun place to be mentally.
It really is. And the thing with that too, I like, you know, you said about like sort of freeing, like allowing your mind to just sort of wander and stuff. You're not setting any hard expectations on what you need to be thinking about. It's just sort of taking it as it comes. And
Yeah.
you know,
And then of course, like I tend to get anxious, like, oh, can't forget that idea. Like,
right.
I'll forget it. But
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I sometimes like that's like a part of my composing process is I'll go for a walk and I'll have my phone on me, but I put on airplane mode because I'm thinking I don't want to be interrupted. But
yeah.
I'll use it to record something like, oh, and I'll even like sing into it or, you know, say whatever the idea is that I have, like, all right, the flute plays this high F for like 28 minutes, you know, like whatever it is.
Wow.
I'm sure flute players would love that.
Keep walking, buddy. Keep walking.
Yeah.